with legs crossed, keeping your hands in a relaxed state in your lap. And close your eyes. And prepare yourself for this meditation today. First, relax your whole body. Scan your whole body from top to bottom. And if there is any tension which is held up in any part of the body, anything which seems stiff, then relax it consciously. Just observe the whole body. And just let everything be in a relaxed and loose state. Now still yourself completely from inside and outside. And now bring your attention to your breath and observe the natural flow of your breathing. Observe the incoming breath and the outgoing breath. Just observe it. Just watch how the breath is entering inside the nostrils into the body and going out of the nostrils. And now bring your attention to your heart space. Focus on your heart space in the middle of your chest. Keep your attention there in the middle part of your chest. And stabilize yourself in this space. And you can continue to keep your focus on your heart space while you listen to this law of balance that we will discuss about today. The law of balance of creation. So what does this law say? What is this law? it says that everything in this creation has a tendency towards balance. That means the creation always tends to shift in a state of balance. It always wants to achieve balance. And this law is in relation to the law of impermanence and the law of polarity that we previously came to know. This law of impermanence says that nothing in this universe is permanent. Everything is changing. Everything in this creation is in a state of constant transition, in a flow. And there's nothing which is always fixed or stable. It is always changing. This is what was the law of impermanence. And the law of polarity, which is that the creation is made up of a spectrum of attributes, of one attribute. And there are two extreme poles of this attribute, this one attribute. Like the like love is the highest degree of affection, and the emotion of hate is the lowest degree of affection. So the creation, it oscillates between one pole to the other. So in context with these two laws, there is this law of balance. We can understand this law in context with both these two laws of impermanence and law of polarity. And according to this law of balance, if everything is impermanent and it changes, then one polarity will change towards the other. And why does this change happen? We already discussed that in the law of impermanence, that change happens because it is a necessity. Change is mandatory. Without change, creation is not possible. And why does this change happen? What is the purpose of this change? So this change happens towards one extreme to create harmony. This is the purpose of change. So this is the purpose of shift from one pole to the other, is that the nature wants to create balance or harmony. So the law of balance is one that keeps everything in harmony in the creation. And the purpose of this shifting, the purpose of this change in creation from one extreme to the other is to ensure that there is balance in nature. So this word balance is understood in many different ways. It is used in so many different ways. So it is necessary to understand what is this word balance. It comes to the mind that balance means what? Balance means like there is a fixed point, there is a middle point which is fixed, and there is no deviation from here. So it is not this. The balance does not mean that there is some middle part, some fixed part. And it also doesn't mean that the proportion of the extremes should be in equal proportions. Like, for example, it doesn't mean that balance means I should neither be very rich nor I should be poor. I should have the right amount of finances. It doesn't mean that. That it doesn't mean balance means, it doesn't mean it. There should be a middle point between the two extremes. So here the balance doesn't mean symmetry. And sometimes this word balance is also used very commonly for a state of stillness or a state of calmness. Like, we say, I'm in a balanced state of mind or something like that. So this is also not the exact meaning of balance in this law of balance. So what does this word balance mean in the law of balance? So here, this balance means something like a self-correcting system. It means whenever there is deviation in one direction, then uh, um, some corrective movement is triggered towards the other. And why this corrective movement is triggered? It is because the whole system should be maintained in a sustainable range, in harmony, which we call as harmony. So we can understand this with an example easily. Like, we have seen a person, in circuses or in shows, the daredevil shows, the person walks on a tight rope held high on two poles by the sides, and one rope is tied, and that person walks on that rope. And he we say that this walker, this tightrope walker, he is balancing. So when we say he's balancing, it doesn't mean that he's standing on that rope. He, we say it balancing because he's continuously correcting his position. He's continuously correcting his balance. If there is a lean to one side and it could cause a fall, then he will counter it with with a movement towards the opposite side, and he lean a little to the opposite side, and so that he doesn't fall over. So he continuously keeps doing this juggling. So so this is what we call as balance. Like, the wobbling he does is, it seems imbalance, but actually that is the balance. His wobble is the balance, and it is not imbalance. So this correction, when there is a shift to the other side, in order to maintain that equilibrium, is called balance. And we see this balance in fact, our human body is such a great example of all these sorts of balances. This body physiology is the biggest example of this balance, which we call as homeostasis. Like, all the parameters of the body, like the blood pH or the body temperature, or the balance of the blood sugar, which is regulated through insulin and glucagon, and so many things, parasympathetic, sympathetic, estrogen, progesterone, all those things, the releasing hormones and the endocrine hormones. So everything in the body is maintained in a sustainable range by constantly sensing some deviation. If there is some deviation in the blood pH, then counter mechanisms will trigger, and keep the it will bring back the pH into that sustainable range, which we call as homeostasis. And it happens by all sorts of positive and negative feedback loops. So this is what is balance. So this is just the example of how there is this law of balance everywhere in nature, everywhere in creation, which tries to maintain that system in a state of harmony, or in a state of alignment, or in a state of best sustainability. And in the body terms, we call it as homeostasis. And other than the body also, we can see evidences of this everywhere in the physical world. In the laws of the physics also, there is law of conservation of energy, and there are laws of equilibrium which operates on the atoms and molecules also. We have read all these laws in physics. There is law of action and reaction, that Newton's third law. So it is always that this creation is described, it is a dance between opposites. The creation always keeps dancing between both the poles. And the purpose of this is to maintain a harmony. Like, for example, the day gradually shifts and it turns towards night, and the night again shifts, moves, and turns towards day. This is to create a harmony, because the nature operates in this cycles only. There has to be sunlight for half of the time, and there has to be darkness for half of the time. So this is for the harmony of all the living beings, and this is to maintain the harmony or the balance between the activity and rest. Whenever there is activity, too much of activity, it gradually it creates the environment for rest. So when there is too much of activity, we have observed that when there is too much of activity, then some system triggers, there is fatigue, and then the shift happens towards rest to reduce the activity. And this is how the balance is achieved. And on the contrary, when there is too much of rest, suppose, then it it creates a sort of stagnation, and this triggers activity. So this is how this keeps on shifting. The whole spectrum of the both poles, they keep shifting towards each other. This is the very fine balance that the nature keeps doing. When there is birth, then gradually it makes way for destruction in order to balance, in order to create harmony. Harmony for what? Harmony for the resources. So if there is no destruction, if there is only birth, then there wouldn't be any harmony, where there wouldn't be any balance in the resources. It would lead to destruction, and this whole creation would collapse. So this is the purpose of the law of balance, to maintain the creation, to sustain the creation. And everywhere we can see, like in the societies and civilizations also, we've seen in history that whenever there is too much of control, when there is too much of oppression, then it leads to revolt. So that control and oppression is counterbalanced. It creates a balance, it creates a condition, or too much of oppression creates conditions which trigger the removal of oppression and again create balance. So this happens in societies and civilizations also, and we can see this in our own lifestyle also. Suppose there is a lifestyle of extreme indulgence, then it automatically shifts, the balance shifts towards, it compels towards moderation, it compels towards pause. Like if I have so much of a bad lifestyle, I'm not taking care of the body, then sooner or later there will be some pause, some illness will arise, and which will force me to slow down, to pause, to go towards moderation. Too much of junk food will lead to ultimately something which will will compel you to come back to that moderation, whichever you have overindulged. So this is how the nature creates balance. It is a law and it is always applicable. Or we can also see in the environment, like, oh, when there is overuse or over exploitation of something, then it will trigger an experience of scarcity, like water or the resources of earth. And we already are aware that so many catastrophes in the ecology, in the environment, they are the result of this law of balance. Whenever there is over exploitation of something, the counter mechanisms are triggered and the nature ensures balance. Too much of something will compel things to happen in a way that that overindulgence is shifted, it is balanced again. Too much of consumption, it will lead to scarcity. Or we have seen that whenever there is overpopulation, then some mechanisms happen which create a balance in the which in the population again. For example, like if the population of herbivores like the deers increases in the forest, then all the vegetation is consumed, and then automatically they starve, and the population balance in the right numbers. Or some disease begins because of the overcrowding, and the nature brings back the balance. So this is how the law of balance works. And you can do your own thought experiments, and you can think about how it is evident everywhere in nature, in our bodies, in the environment. So knowing this law, what is it what is it going to help me? What do I have to learn? What do I have to understand this law? So when I know that one extreme will inevitably change to the other, when I know that one polarity rises, then the nature will create a balance by shifting to the other polarity. And this is a law. And when I know this is a law, then resisting against this shift, resisting against this balance is absolutely useless, because the resistance is which causes suffering. So the learning is that resisting is useless, and it leads to the quality of acceptance. Means whatever is happening, It is something related to the balance which the nature is creating. And this is also exactly the basis of the law of karma again, where when one extreme has happened, then the other extreme has to be experienced. This is the law of karma. So this is the law of karma, is to maintain the balance, to maintain the harmony in nature. So when I know that balance is inevitable and the shift is also inevitable, then it is useless to resist this. So this is the quality of acceptance, what we call as surrender. And surrender doesn't mean that you don't do anything. Surrender doesn't mean inaction, or acceptance doesn't mean inaction. Like if something has happened, then I don't resist, I accept it, and I just sit doing nothing. It doesn't mean that. It means that I don't resist it in my mind, that I had expected this thing, but this thing did not happen as per my expectation. So it's okay. Now what? I totally accept it, and then I will not sit. I will just decide what will be my new course of action. This is what I do. I will not sit blaming anyone. I'll not sit blaming my fate, blaming people, blaming circumstances, events. I will not become a victim. So this, there shouldn't be victim mentality that this happened because of that. One has to understand that it is the law of balance, that some balance will be created and it is inevitable. So so it is the wise person, what the wise person will do, he will accept it, because the law cannot change. So acceptance, changing the course of action, and moving on, changing your gears and move on. That is the way. So there are there are many more implications of this law of balance. You can also, based on this, you can yourself think about it. You can contemplate that how does this law of balance apply, and what do I learn from it? What what should be my approach when one situation in life changes towards the other? So this is how the law of balance works. And sometimes, in fact, so often we do not know what balance is being created by this nature, because there is a higher intelligence which operates in nature, and the limited human mind doesn't cannot find many explanations for that. So the best thing is not resisting it, accepting and moving on, and doing whatever is necessary at that moment of time. So this is what the approach should be when I understand that nature will try to balance out, and what I have to learn from this. So in the next session, we'll discuss something more about this law of balance, and where where should I apply this in life? How can I use the understanding of this law to operate my life smoothly? So it's time is already there. So the law of balance is the mantra which we say now. जो हुआ अच्छा हुआ और अच्छे के लिए हुआ. This is the acceptance. And when this acceptance comes, the suffering goes. And that is the main aim of human life, to live a life free of suffering, a joyful life, a meaningful life, and doing actions whatever is necessary. So we'll just sit silently for some time and contemplate on this knowledge and what it is there in for me. What do I have to learn from this? So we just discuss a gross framework of how this law of balance in nature works and how could it be used is for us to contemplate upon in our daily life, in all the situations in life. So sit with this thought, keep observing everything around you, inside you, and see what am I resisting? Am I resisting anything? If there is resistance, means I'm going against the flow of life, and this is not in a harmony. So being with the flow of life is being in harmony with life. And when you be in harmony with this flow, you will not suffer, you will not feel the pains. Just acceptance and surrender and respecting this creation and its laws. And now, those who want to continue this meditation, may please continue sitting in the same posture as long as you want, and then come out of the meditation And those who want to come out of this meditation, kindly just become aware of your surroundings around the room where you're sitting. Open your hands and move your fingers gently. And gradually open your eyes. Dr. Pooja has commented. So beautiful. So again, all laws are interconnected and same learning, letting go, forgiveness, and surrender. Yeah, so true. So true. Great understanding, Dr. Pooja. When we try to hold on to one thing that this is not as I expected, it doesn't happen that way. The nature doesn't do as per your expectations because the nature of creation is that it has to create alignment, it has to create balance and harmony. And if what you expect should happen, if it is not in the harmony, if it is not according to this law of balance, then it will not happen. And it is so foolish to expect that because nature is far higher. In fact, I am part of nature. So how can I control nature? How can the painting control its the painter that paint me this way? It is the painter who decides what the painting will be. So, so should we end this session? Anyone wants to ask something or say something? So, okay, then we'll meet in the next session. Okay, bye bye. Good night, everyone.